What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Game Club from Wannabe Critic Productions. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Fast. Yes, I still do don the name of the Wannabe Critic. I am joined by a fellow podcast host from Wannabe Critic Productions for this particular review. It's Mikey Collins. He's here to review Uncharted 4 with me. Mikey, how are you living?
I'm living pretty good.
Say
living
it.
The high life right now.
Say it.
Say it.
Say the thing. Say the thing that you said the
Scream
past.
it from the rooftops.
Say the thing you've said the past 2 episodes. It's giving me a giggle every time.
How you doing, pumpkin?
It gets me every time. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are here continuing our review of the Uncharted franchise. It is kind of crazy how sometimes we'll get a plan to do something and then it just kind of keeps going. I think I don't even really know how Uncharted even got started, to be honest with you. Last time I checked, it was scheduled that me and Rex Tucker, a fellow wannabe, were supposed to be doing the Little Nightmare series. But time gets ahead of all. Time gets away from all of us. Things happen. We're still gonna do that for sure. But go ahead, Mikey.
Let's be honest. You just put me first. You love me more.
No, every time I ask Rex, he's like, "Dude,
nope.
I can't." He's always like, "Dude, I can't make it."
Why does he sound like what's his face from Family Guy?
Who's
what
that?
What is that one guy? Oh shoot, what is his name?
Oh, I got some Oreos here if you want some.
Yeah.
That guy. Oh my god, yeah. He does kind of sound like that guy a little bit.
Oh, man.
Oh my god, no offense to Rex. That's funny though. Mikey, how have you been feeling? It's been a while since we recorded anything. With this new schedule for the main show over at the Wannabe Collective, our recording pattern's a little more sporadic. So how have things been going over there for you?
I've been doing pretty good. I've been living the high life. I got the old PS5.
Oh, Mikey just held up his DualSense for you peasants out there who don't have one yet.
Peasants? There's no peasants, dude. That is crazy. It is insane trying to get a console right now, man. I can't believe I got one with how difficult it is. It was mainly my wife that actually took the time and opened like 12 different, what's it called?
Tabs. 12 different tabs.
Yeah. And it was like clicking checkout on all of them, and cycling through. It was crazy. But yeah, we got one. And
Clackety
it was cool because
clackety clack.
Clackety clack.
Yeah.
It was cool because when we got it, we got the digital one. But then Walmart sent us like an email and said we ran out of stock of the digital ones that you ordered, so we're upgrading you for free. And I got one of the disc versions for no extra cost. So that was pretty sweet.
There you have it. You didn't have to sell your games. You can still use them.
Yeah, that was pretty
nice.
awesome. I actually really don't have. I think I only have like a couple discs, so it wasn't really a big deal to me. But I mean, it's nice having it.
Yeah, yeah. Just in case you want to pop in a movie or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, because all these reviews and stuff. Most of the movies that we'll be reviewing, since we're going through Star Wars right now, I have to watch discs because I have them, or Disney Plus or whatever. But I have the discs, and I prefer. I don't know. It feels a little more like. I'm a vinyl guy, so just having the disc kind of feels nice sometimes,
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. I love physical games, and I have a decent collection of them. I have a PS3 with a bunch of old discs that I had bought whenever I thought that, we weren't going to be able to be having the store anymore, so I bought a bunch of games, and been buying Vita games, and I have physical, Switch games, and I definitely get it for sure. Whenever I got my PS5, it's kind of interesting because I just ordered it what feels like the traditional way, where you go to your local GameStop and you just request one. And I don't realize how lucky I actually was, that I was actually able to get one. But yeah, I'm happy that you have one because now it opens up a lot more opportunities for Game Club, and it feels. What'd you say?
So much more opportunities for activity.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I mean, because there's a lot of games that are the most easily accessible way to play them is on PS5. I just think about PlayStation Plus games. And, now we can, the idea of a club feeling somewhat a little bit exclusive in a way being able to have hands-on with stuff as it comes out. It feels good to be able to have multiple people with PS5s. Me and Caleb are not the only ones, but we know how busy Caleb gets. So, what are you drinking over there tonight?
Just some Lefroy, some Scotch, as usual.
I meant to ask you, have you ever had Stranahan's?
Stranahan's?
Yeah, it's bourbon.
Where's it from?
Colorado, actually.
Really?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Yeah. Me and one Ethan Maestri, which by the time this comes out, Ethan Maestri, I'm announcing this for the first time, Ethan Maestri is officially joining the Wannabe Critic family. You can go peep our show, me and his show, The Chop Shop, over on the Wannabe Collective. More info to come to that in the future, but I'm pretty excited. It was we've been talking about it for a while, and like I said, by the time this comes out, you'll already know that he's there. So kind of cool. But yeah, the Chop, he sent over a few different names. It was like one was like Yammer Time, The Chop Shop, and there was another one that was funny, but I thought the Chop Shop was good. And for just giving a plug, to something else in the production house, it is literally like, we're going to put a disclaimer at the show. Like, if you're not ready for truly hot takes, don't listen to it, because we're not holding back. We're talking about the stuff that, in a family-friendly way. We're going to be talking about the stuff that we're irritated by, and just not holding back any opinions. Like, we're not going to be holding anything back. It's like, no, this is how I feel about it. This is, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like that's something that the Wannabe Critic family has really needed. And that I've really needed, because sometimes we'll get in the big group and we'll review a movie, and I'm really wanting to like go off on something, but maybe one person's interested, or maybe, no one's interested in what I want to talk about. So it's like, and then we have a movie review. So, that kind of content has been somewhat lacking. So make sure you go peep the Wannabe Collective. That link is down in the description below, by the way. That's how you can get in touch with us as well, by the way, is by emailing thewannabecollective@gmail.com. And while we're on the topic of links, make sure you go peep the code for Raise Energy. I have a can right here. This flavor is called sour gummy worms. It is delicious. It's 0 calories, and I love it very much. My code is _wannabecritic. Also, what is it? Mikey's laughing at me.
Nothing. I just have a Red Bull here, and I about held it up.
Yeah, not supporting. Mikey's not supporting the affiliates in any way. We do have some dope new merch. Faculty number 1 and 0. The shirts are available. I'm very proud of those. I worked with One Dog Meat Designs to help come up with the design. So make sure you go check that out. And we have a bunch of other stuff down in the description below that you can check out. It'd be awesome to say that we're sponsored. It's not technically a sponsorship. We're an affiliate. So it would be awesome if you go check those things out. But yeah, all in all, excited for things that are happening, and definitely excited for the Chop Shop, which will be available on the Wannabe Collective in its own playlist, as well as audio podcasts. And if you're a patron, make sure you subscribe at anything. At least the early access tier or above, and you'll be able to have access to it as soon as it's done. God willing, my internet is actually, functioning properly. So, Mikey, that was a lot to take in. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Is your Chop Shop intro that 808 song from Outkast? Lay down to the Chop Shop.
That would be funny. I actually don't know what I'm going to do for the intro yet. We're going to have to figure something else out. Also, while we're on the topic of announcements, definitely make sure you're subscribed to the Wannabe Collective, because we have not only one new member, but 2 more new members that are going to be joining, doing their own thing. And that's all I'm going to say right now. But I'm hyped. I'm like straight up hyped about it. Like, it is really, really cool. And I'm excited to talk about more. So make sure you're subscribed to the Wannabe Collective on YouTube and on podcast services. So there you have it. But now that we've been yapping for God knows how long about God knows what, we're here to talk about not the final entry in the Uncharted series, but the final entry for Nathan Drake. So far. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End for the PlayStation 4. Now, Mikey, you texted me. I will be 100% transparent, 100% honest. I did not replay this game all the way through. I played it 2 or 3 times now at this point. I hopped back in to see how the mechanics kind of fared, refreshed myself on some of the story beats and stuff like that. But I remember the game, quite a bit because it was a huge deal. I have its Wikipedia pulled up here, or no, some random facts on IMDb. The game sold 2.5 million copies in its first week. It sold over 15 million copies, in its lifespan, which is, that's a lot. That's a lot of games to sell. So, it's had high critical acclaim, and it has a pretty cool story to it. But before we get into the background and all that stuff, I have to ask, Mikey, do you like this game?
I do like this game.
This is the best Uncharted game. So far, I've been playing through, Golden Abyss on Vita recently just to, and I can already tell you this is the best one.
Is that Ben Studio?
Yeah, it's Ben Studio.
Nice.
But it's still voiced by the same people. It still has all the same actors and stuff, which is cool. But this is, I think, the best one. And honestly, hot take, Lost Legacy isn't that far behind it, in my opinion. Lost Legacy is a really good game that I'm really looking forward. That'll be the next one we talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say I finished that a couple days ago for the first time, and I'm excited about talking about that one.
Yeah, I am too. I still need to finish it. I got stuck on a puzzle a couple years ago, and I haven't finished it since. So, I'm a coward. I know. So I wanted to read a little blip here. This is via Wikipedia, but I know this to be a fact. So, they just summed it up the best here. I'll have a few.
Because that's what Wikipedia is.
Yeah. But I was just looking for a summary. I remember reading about this somewhere, or, I've heard about this for a long time. So it says, development of Uncharted 4 began in 2011, soon after release of Uncharted 3. It was led by creative director Amy Hennig and game director Justin Richmond. Development was hampered in 2014 due to Hennig and Richmond's departure from Naughty Dog. So that's 3 years after the game development began. And this is where things gets interesting. It says development was hampered in 2014 due to Hennig and Richmond's departure from Naughty Dog. They were replaced by Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, which, if you know anything about Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann is the head honcho over there now, and him and Bruce Straley were the team that really brought The Last of Us to the forefront of, and swept the hearts of gamers since its inception. It says the relationship between Nathan and Elena was central, and Naughty Dog attempted to humanize them more than in the previous games. A Thief's End was released in May 2016 for the PlayStation 4. It was the first Naughty Dog game developed specifically for the PlayStation 4. The team took advantage of the hardware to process larger dynamic environments. I remember that being such a big deal, the technical things that this game did. I remember people marveling, because I think it was shown off at E3 for the first time, and I believe that was the first time that PlayStation or that Sony, that was the last time they went to E3, I believe, was to show off that game. And I don't think they went after that. Which 2016, that's kind of an interesting year for us, because that's whenever we actually moved out and moved in together around that time. And I remember seeing E3 footage.
Totally platonic.
Yeah, totally platonic. I remember seeing lots of coverage around it and people being blown away by the way the mud looked. And I remember that was one of, I was taking games pretty seriously then, just in terms of critiquing them and, talking about them and stuff. And it was one of those things.
That was really close to when you started, wasn't it? That was within a year or two.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Came out?
I hadn't played it until later, because I don't think I had a PlayStation 4 at the time. But it wasn't long after, that it came out and I was playing it, because we lived together. It was in 2017 I actually finally got to play it. But I just remember people going crazy, about the way the game looked. And then, back then, even now, you get your hands on the game, and it looks and plays really nice. And from everything I've heard about Neil Druckmann, it totally makes sense that this game looks and plays the way it does, because he is a freak about detail. And it shows, it really shows in this game. So,
yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. And it it kind of puts things into perspective for you whenever you go into the game with the mindset of, okay, this is the same team that worked on The Last of Us. Yet it still feels so Uncharted. You know, it has such a strong Uncharted feeling to it. But the level of detail there, it's just on another level. And I remember we had talked about Uncharted 3 with Ethan, which I had not finished, you know, or I had not, you know, beaten. And in talking to him, it was like, yeah, that was good. Like, that was good. It was good. It's really good. This is like, I mean, it's a large step above what we get to experience in Uncharted 3. I mean, even in the first moments of the game. Now, granted, it's for a new console. You know, there's more hardware capabilities and things like that. There's just a lot of things that we don't know about that opens up to making the game just much, much better. But still, I mean, I have to ask you, does it feel that much different to you?
Different in comparison to 3?
Yeah, let's say 3. Yeah, let's say 3 being, because I think 3 has definitely a more crisp feel to it than 2.
For me, I mean, anybody who's listened to these knows that 1's my favorite. It feels more like 1 to me, where it's just like, I don't feel like I'm playing a game the whole time. I feel like I'm kind of like watching a movie, which is, I like that in my like video games sometimes. But for this, just the way like even the shots are when it's like coming into like the beginning of the game, when it's coming into him and he's like, you think he's hunting for treasure or something, but he's really just in like the bay just digging up tankards and stuff, you know, like just the way the camera angles and just how it's shot, that alone compared to 3 is way better for me. And that's just like one thing. Yeah. I don't know. I really struggled with 3. Like I thought it was really good, and 2 I struggled with as well, but I don't know if it's, man, how many years apart were they? Do you know? Yeah,
so Uncharted 3 came out, I believe, in 2010, and Uncharted 4 came out in 2016.
Wow, so they did that in 6 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I bet they started working on before.
Yeah, I mean, they started working on it, which it's funny because, you know, the same time The Last of Us and Uncharted 3 are being developed, they're being developed at the same time.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
You know, it's a completely, so it would have been, and that was again around the time that Neil Druckmann kind of rose. And I've heard a lot of controversy surrounding that whole thing because I've heard people say that Neil Druckmann kind of forced those two other creatives out of Naughty Dog in a way, and I think now, you know, Neil Druckmann's vice president of Naughty Dog now. So it's I mean, if you don't want to be in that position or be in that industry or whatever, and I don't know what all goes into that, but yeah, I mean, 6 years is how long it took to make that game, and not. I remember it being kind of crazy because Uncharted 4 got announced basically at the same time as the Nathan Drake collection. So like all four Uncharted games were going to be released on the PS4 around the same time, which I remember being kind of a big deal, you know, back then. But yeah, I get what you're saying about it feeling more like 1. It definitely feels different. It does not feel the same. It feels a lot different, and
it doesn't feel like it is Uncharted, and it feels like Uncharted, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's Uncharted, but in a good way.
Yeah.
If you've played it, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I do think that the Last of Us heritage is kind of there with the buddy system.
Yeah.
You know, the buddy system is heavily,
yeah.
which to be fair though, you know, you were with Sully in the third game a lot. And doing stuff with Sully a lot. But I don't know, it's there from the first moments of the game in this one, you know, with your brother and with Nate's brother and stuff like that. So, you know, it definitely feels like the most prestiged version, you know, of what we get in Uncharted, and like all the limits are being pushed.
Oh yeah.
And I liked that. I remember playing Uncharted 4 back when it first came out and thinking to myself, okay, I still don't really like Nathan Drake that much, and I never have. I've never liked Nathan Drake. But I remember playing it back then and being like, this is almost a perfect game. Like, it's just so masterfully created. even just small little things like adding the grappling hook, and making that mechanic feel like it's always been there, is really cool. I mean, it's especially like in the multiplayer and stuff, which was, I mean, anytime you can make multiplayer feel good, that's rad. But yeah, and little things like letting the cutscenes transition from gameplay. You have gameplay cutscenes that go from real time to like, I'm sorry, that it goes from like a cutscene to like real time, and it's seamless, and it's like, oh frick, like I'm actually like, this isn't like pre-rendered, like this is actually happening. That's really cool. That's one of like the earliest instances I can remember that actually being a thing where you realize like, oh, this isn't a cutscene, this is actually happening in real time right now, which is kind of trippy, and it is hard because now we've been spoiled by the the performance of the PS5, and it's a little bit different now. But I really think, at least what I played and went back to feel and like kind of check out, I feel like this game holds up in a lot of ways today.
Oh man, yeah. My most recent thing has been on the base model PS4. It was before I got this PS5, and I still it feels great. Like, and I couldn't compare it to the PS5 because I haven't gotten to play it at all. But yeah, like there was no like hitches or like glitches or anything. It's a smooth game.
Yeah, it's smooth, and I think there's just some really impressive set pieces like the clock tower. Like just that whole thing. It's a bit of an annoying process trying to climb up that thing, but like whenever everything kind of comes tumbling down, that's a really cool moment. I think the voice acting and the motion capture is awesome. Everything about this game is just, I think it's done a really good job of kind of taking all of everything that we really liked about the first three games and just making them even better in this fourth game, to where like you better play the first three before you play this one, because it is hard to go back, but yeah, I think it's really good. What were like kind of some like standout moments for you?
I mean, pirates in general, anything to do with the pirates. I love like that kind of vibe. So as soon as you get on the island, then you figure out like, oh, there's like monuments and like giant pirate pillars. This guy was like it's like you literally are on a treasure hunt as soon as you get to that island in the game. And it's so cool.
Yeah.
Like that how they did something better in this game, in my opinion, than they did in 2, to where you start off with that boat battle, right? But then as soon as you finish your basically highland hopping when you're following all those arrows and stuff, and you drive into that storm, you're like, oh crap, I'm about to do that scene. Like, I love that moment. But then to this game's advantage, you don't have to do that scene again, really. You do like a split second of it. And I was like, that's cool. That's something I really enjoyed.
Kind of like a full circle. Yeah, kind of like a full circle moment a little bit. And it's like, okay,
exactly.
I get it, And
yeah, which is kind of Uncharted's thing now. So
yeah, no, I
cool.
agree. And yeah, it's just a really good game, and I agree, like the whole pirate vibe, and it's like finally we get a pretty good bad guy, in my opinion. Like I thought he was actually he felt like the adverse to Nathan Drake, like finally like the opposite of Nathan Drake, still kind of the suave guy, not afraid to get his hands dirty, but he's not like this British like punk, he felt like a good villain to me, and it felt like modern. He felt like a good modern villain for Nathan Drake. And what did you think of the villain?
I really liked him. I love to hate him, which is what you want in a villain. But I mean, just the whole, I see where the whole comparison to where he's the opposite of Nathan. I see that in certain ways. But what I really enjoyed about him was like, he knows that he's had everything handed to him. So what he's doing now is just to prove that he can do things on his own. But at the same time, it's kind of pointless because all he's doing is using his money that he's gotten elsewhere, So it's like a vicious cycle for him. So it's interesting watching basically his battle against somebody who's has nothing basically except friends, whereas he has no friends and nobody likes him. So it's interesting. I never found him when he was on screen or interacting with Nathan where I was like, God, I don't care. I like every moment where they were interacting with him and what's the leader's name? What's her name? Nadine. Yeah, I really liked her too as like a sub-villain anti-hero type person.
And
that was really cool.
It was kind of frustrating that like we had never seen her before. I remember playing this game and being like, oh, well, she must be someone you encounter in a different game. But she wasn't, And it's nice that she kind of gets her own thing. So I do think it's interesting that you mention the villain. What was his name? Wraith?
Cad Bane. Oh, Wraith. Yeah.
Wraith, something like that. I do think it's funny how you mentioned, like...
Is it Wraith or Wraith?
I think it's... I can't remember.
It sounds like a PH, right?
I can't remember, honestly.
I think it's Wraith.
But either way, it's kind of funny because they are kind of like the opposite. The opposite, but the same. Because Nathan is strictly doing this because he has something to prove, too, to himself. Like... there's still this calling of who he really is and like all this other stuff. And we get inklings of that, even from the very first moments of the game and like, that flashback where he's playing with the Nerf darts and stuff like that. And, whenever he's a kid, it's like he's always been that way. That's just who he is. And I think that sense of adventure is kind of like the last hoorah, right? To kind of get closure on everything. And in a way that is, spoilers, by the way, full-on spoilers for Uncharted 4. If you haven't played it, go play it. Whenever he gets to that point and he finishes his journey, a new adventure begins at the very end of this game, with his daughter. And it's like, it immediately makes you think of those people that have had adventurous lifestyles. I know there's people in my life that I can think of where it's like, wow, you've done a lot of stuff. And like, you've been a lot of places. And like, there's just a really cool history to you as a person. And like, it's cool because as we get to play, the daughter's perspective, and like when we see Nathan and Elena and they're old, it's like, I know what you've been through. Like I went through it with you. And it makes you excited for that new character to see. It's like, well, are we going to get an Uncharted 5? Like, we know where we're playing as her, as the daughter, and like Nathan kind of becomes the Sully of sorts for his daughter. I look forward to seeing, because we're going to get more. They're making a freaking Uncharted movie. We're going to get more Uncharted. I look forward to seeing where the story continues, but that sense of adventure is present for Nathan, that he needs closure. On the opposite side, for the R word guy, the R name guy, whatever his name is, Raphael, he is trying to artificially create something. Like, he knows there's like no substance really to what he has. And he's also looking for closure, but in a different way. So whenever you fight him in that pirate ship with the sword and you're like going back and forth, it's really kind of a symbolic moment because you kind of have the opposites are truly, the two worlds are really colliding in that moment. And you kind of feel bad for him a little bit, or at least I did, in a way, just because he's fighting for this closure. And obviously we know Nathan Drake is going to win. And you just kind of wonder, I think that's what makes a good villain, is whenever you wonder what motivates selfishness, like that. And I remember him being a cool, one of my favorite parts of the game, for sure. Just because it did feel like a modern, good, fresh take on a villain, for an adventure game. So that had substance to it. But were there any standouts, any other standouts for you personally?
One big one for me that I've had each time I play this game is one of the first moments. What's the pirate city called? I always forget, man.
Tortuga. No.
Tortuga, yeah. Once they get to Tortuga.
Wait, is it really Tortuga in this game?
I think so.
Oh,
I think
that's funny.
I forget.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
It might be, because I know that's a fictional pirate paradise, basically. But there's also another one where it's like an island that actually was real and sank. that's a different thing. But as soon as you get to like where you know that this was a real place, and you come up on all those buildings and there's like street signs everywhere, there's these 2 chairs you can go to in this old tavern that like half the tavern's gone, and it's basically you and your brother, and you can opt to sit in these chairs and have like a full conversation.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Just you guys just looking off into the sunset over the whole city and just being like, what the heck?
Yeah. Well, that's
it's just really touching because like
yeah.
I feel like the brother story, even though it's a main part at the beginning of the game, kind of gets lost through the game until that moment where you're just like, oh yeah, this is like, we're still the same kids that, from this, we've been hunting this place down since forever. Our mom was hunting this place down, and I don't think you go through that sequence till after you do that sit down thing, but it's just going back through it. It's just even more touching because it's like, man, yeah, they've gone through crap together since they were kids. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and
that's a really cool moment.
Yeah. When I just wanted to add too, this is the first game where you actually have choices that you can make.
Yeah.
You weren't able to have choices like that. So I mean, you could completely skip that scene altogether, I think, if you didn't take the time to like actually, which is kind of interesting. But sorry, go ahead. Another.
And you don't even. I think you don't even have to listen to it either. You can just sit down, say one thing, and then leave. But there's like a whole monologue you can do, like because you can just keep continuing the conversation with them. And that's interesting. I like little things like that in games, to where it's like you don't have to watch a cutscene if you don't want to, if you don't care about the game. It's not even that if you don't care about the game, but I really like little things like that. And then the whole, dude, freaking climbing through that cave and just looking down from the top of the cave and seeing that pirate ship, that's so cool. The imagery, oh my gosh, that's something throughout this entire game series where I'm just like, they know how to make people go like, holy crap, that's awesome. They know how to nail moments like that. I've never had a moment really fall flat for me in these games where I'm just like, that's the big thing. Every time it's just like, oh, that's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, one like even the imagery too, it has always been impressive. The set pieces have always been impressive for Uncharted. And I remember kind of like in the prison, whenever you escape the prison and you're swinging out for the first time on that, that peninsula thing or whatever, and like you're coming around, like you get to the top and it's just like, holy crap, like this is so pretty, like this is so good looking. And yeah, no, I definitely agree that those, because I don't know, I'm not a programmer, I don't know how hard it is to program in those things. I've made some Forge maps in my day. Like I know it can't be that much different, to make it. I mean, I know what it is, but still, like you watch like anything on game development or whatever, it's like you see them take those pieces and like add them in Unity and stuff like that. I don't know how long it took to make. Point is, I don't know how long it took to make. It probably wasn't actually as hard as we think it is, but the fact that they took those moments to actually like make it and like put it in there, and like they put it in there so that the however many % of people playing it would look out and be like, my God, like that in this environment is just incredible, and yeah, I mean, Naughty Dog definitely, that's why Naughty Dog is arguably, probably, call me crazy, Naughty Dog and Insomniac are probably the best developers in the games industry right now. I can't think of one any better. I really can't in terms of detail. Yeah, but that's a great comparison because again, so much all this little detail. Yeah, I mean, I think you could definitely put them up in the top 5 for sure. Turn 10 being one of the best. It's certainly Xbox's best developer. That's probably for sure. At this point in time, people are like, "Oh, Skyrim." It's like, no, I mean, first party, like.
Yeah, I was gonna say somebody probably make the argument for Bethesda.
Yeah, but someone who hasn't been acquired, as a studio in the past year. How about that?
Yeah.
Anyone who's been acquired in the past year doesn't count. But yeah, no. Again, the level of detail is just insane. It's so good. So good, dude. Is there any other standouts before we get to our negatives?
Just kind of I like how they don't lead you into knowing that your brother's basically lying to you the entire time. There's no hints to that. And you even how they take you through his whole story of him being in prison is completely fabricated. Like that whole playthrough part where you're just like, wait, that wasn't even real? That's so cool. I like that. That's a big part of the game. That just that moment is pretty cool because because you never even think about it because while you're playing it, you're like, oh, this is fact. I don't know. That was always something that I'm just like, man, what a douche.
Yeah. Oh, and that's kudos to Troy Baker too.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Because there are times where I don't even realize it's him. Like, he really killed it. I mean, I would argue that his performance here is probably one of his best, actually. Because you don't think it's hard to place him as that character.
It's crazy what he can do with his voices. Even though if you put them side by side, I'm sure they'd sound similar. But, like, I can never tell when it's him.
Yeah.
Like, in games.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, no.
It's pretty cool. He does a good job.
He does a really good job. And I would say, I've been playing through the Avengers, too. This is just a small sidebar. I was like, I was playing through the Avengers, and he's Bruce Banner. And, it's basically him just being himself. But, like, a little more, like, soft-spoken, but it sounds like Joel. Like, it actually sounds like Joel whenever he's talking. But here, it actually seemed like he was really trying to be someone else. And, that's why you just can't knock voice actors. So, I do have a small bit of trivia for us on Uncharted 4.
Go ahead. Quiz me.
Laura Bailey auditioned for and won the role of Nadine prior to the finalization of the character design. Nadine is, of course, a black character. Laura Bailey is not a black character. A concept artist later drew a piece of art.
Are you calling Laura Bailey a character?
Well, yeah, Laura Bailey is not a black person, excuse me. A concept artist later drew a piece of art with Nadine as a black character, and director Neil Druckmann liked the idea of Nadine being a black character, but feared inviting controversy having a white actress voice and perform a black character. It wasn't until Naughty Dog had seen Bailey's performance and context that they decided to keep Nadine as a black character, as it vanished into the part and you didn't see anything but Nadine. This blew me away when I learned this, because Nadine's such an awesome character, and it speaks to the good writing of Nadine as well as speaking to the talent of Laura Bailey, just a strong female lead. And I mean, she killed it here. I loved Nadine in this game. What? Go ahead.
I did not know I didn't know that Laura Bailey was white. I would have never guessed. She really nailed the role.
Yeah, which in Laura Bailey, of course, is the same. This is the crazy part. Laura Bailey played Abby in The Last of Us Part 2 as well. So Abby and Nadine are played by the same person.
Trunks and Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you ever think about it. But,
wow.
Anyways, small bit of trivia for you.
Interesting.
Let's move on to some things that we weren't crazy about. I feel like the gunplay is so much better in this game than in previous games.
Yeah.
The melee combat has never been a strong suit for this franchise. For me personally, it always has felt kind of clunky. I did appreciate the stealth aspect in this game being added, the high grass and stuff like that. Granted, I do think the melee does feel the best it's felt in the games as well. But man, yeah, the combat just feels... The hand-to-hand combat has always been a sore subject for me whenever it comes to these games. I just don't like it. I avoid it at all costs. But the gunplay here is awesome for sure. But again, kind of with the gunplay though, there are times that classic Uncharted thing that's never changed. It's like I have the guy in my sights, I'm aimed at his head, and he just moves right at the last second. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Go ahead.
That's something I never really agreed with people on, like just the gunplay in these games. I really like it. I don't know what it is about, like, because like growing up I hated third person like shooter games or whatever, but I really enjoy the shooting in these games. Like I don't know, maybe it's just something in my mind that clicks right, but I don't know. I really enjoy the gunplay. And the only thing that I've ever had a complaints about gunplay wise is usually the cover to cover aspect of it. But in this one I feel like they nailed it. But yeah, I think personally the melee in 3 was better than the melee in this.
I agree. Yeah.
I really liked 3's melee, especially how they introduce you to it in the game.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
I think it was better in 3 than it was here. It just felt...
But I don't...
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you go.
Well, I don't usually use melee. I try to stay away from it as much as possible because I feel like I die faster. Like, even playing on easy because I suck at games. But, I just try to stay away from it. So I didn't notice it as much in this game. So that might be why I liked it in 3 more, because they kind of forced you into situations where you had to use it. But, yeah, I still, even the few times I did use it, I don't know. I just wasn't for me.
Yeah. I think for me, you always compare it to something that you really like. I think the shooting mechanics in Gears of War are way better. And I played Gears way long before I ever played this one. So I feel like, and Gears is what introduced me to cover-based shooters. So I feel like those two franchises are always getting flip-flopped, and like they're always getting compared and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. The shooting has just kind of always felt, it feels good in this game, but it's always felt off to me in the Uncharted games. So
maybe it's because you like Gears more, like just.
Oh, I do for a fact. Yeah, I do for
Yeah.
sure like Gears combat and just Gears in general more. But
I've never played them, so I've never had that to compare it to.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where our difference is on that.
Yeah, and I mean, they're two completely different, I don't want to say they're two different types of games, because they're both cover-based shooters,
Yeah.
But
for me, I kind of compare it to Division, because I played that a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still kind of prefer this. I don't know. It's probably because Division is super sweaty.
Yeah.
And this is like, even when you're in like hardcore parts of this game, you're like, oh, this is still fun.
Well, and even like, something like Outriders that's come out, which, is made by People Can Fly, who also worked on Gears of War. I'm like, I just feel like I'm glued to the screen, as I'm playing. Whereas this one, at times I just feel like it's kind of unfair. Like, it's like, where are you freaking shooting me from? Like, how am I getting shot? I'm in cover, like, and that's been a constant thing through all these games. It's like, God, I'm dying so much here, and it's frustrating. And I get, that is classic kind of Uncharted gameplay, though. So that's kind of the thing, is like, no, you're not really safe. Like, you're kind of forced into these situations where you're just kind of clawing your way out of every situation, because you're just a normal guy. Like, you don't have superpowers. You're not some like military whatever. Like, you're just a normal guy, like going up against. These people, and it does make sense, but it does kind of get on my nerves after a while. So that is literally my only complaint, though, with this game, is that at times it just felt like, God, are these waves of enemies ever going to stop? I don't like scrounging. Every piece, every bullet that that's available on the map at that time to get through these interactions and stuff like that. It gets old after a while. But was there anything glaring to you that you weren't crazy about in this game?
1 second, my dog is scratching at the door and I'm about to kill him.
No worries.
Sorry. Proceed with the chloroform.
So yeah, I mean, but was there anything to you that you didn't really, you weren't crazy about in this one?
Man, I wanted it to like it, and playing through it, I got used to it. But the freaking winch on the truck,
So annoying.
I hated every time I had to use that.
You know what that is too? That is a classic example of, we are able to introduce this mechanic and this is going to be a cool mechanic. So we're going to throw it in this game just for the sake of throwing it in the game, is what it feels like.
Like 30 times.
Yeah,
like,
annoying.
The only time that I thought it was cool and where it actually came in handy was like that scene where you go off the cliff and it's like you and Sully and you're like trying to get, I think there's somebody else, I think your brother, I think Sam's in the car too, but you're just like slowly gumming back up this cliff after your car went off it, after you were already winched. That was really cool, but they only did that like once. They only made it feel useful, or like, I don't know, like, it was useful, but they built some of the puzzles around your winch, so then you're feeling like, okay, it kind of takes me out of the game, because I'm like, okay, so you're telling me if I didn't have a winch on my car, I wouldn't be able to get this treasure? That doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't like that. I get why they did it, but it took me out of the game every time I had to use it.
No,
It was
and
annoying.
that would be the time that is the type of thing that that is the type of thing that when you get to it, it's like, well, I guess I'm going to take a break because this is stupid, or I guess it's time to take a break. I don't feel like I'm just like gunning, or like my eyes are glued to the screen where I have to keep going. And that's kind of a big thing where with Uncharted for me that has always been a thing is I can never just sit down and play those games in long spurts. There's always something that comes up where I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to take a break because I'm just not invested, that there's definitely pacing issues, with all these games for sure. And I do think the winch for sure adds whenever you're going to have an item or a mechanic that has to move the plot along. Yeah. I mean, it messes with the flow of the game for sure. What else?
Man, I feel like I really enjoy. These are probably some of the funnest puzzles, like non-frustrating puzzles in the game, but some of them did drag out way too long. Like, I liked it, but I also didn't like it. The arrow thing with the boat, like that whole section where you have to follow the arrows through the islands, go through and do like a whole area that you only go to for like 10 minutes. But I just didn't like that it was, I don't know, it was just boring. Like that whole part of the game.
I agree.
Like it was interesting, but it was boring.
I agree.
And there was no combat really. There wasn't any. They had a certain part of that where you like go into a cave, you swim into this cave, and it's basically the area where they planned out the entire city. That was cool, but it's like 30 seconds of like a 10 to 15 minute part of the game, if not longer. Like if you mess up, But I don't know. I didn't really enjoy that part. It was beautiful though. Like just going around all those islands, it was so pretty. Like with that that like crystal blue water, but. That was a big bore, that part. And then
again, one of those things that slows down, kind of takes away the pace of the game a little bit. Yeah,
it really affected the pace because I don't know, it was interesting, but then also I like the Jeep in the game. I like how it handles it. It's really fun to drive. Too much Jeep though. Too much time in the Jeep.
Well, and I feel like they wanted to spend so much time in these big open areas that you can explore, but to the game's detriment, there's not a lot there.
It's very barren, and there is not trophies, but collectibles to find out in all those big areas. But I mean, they can do that in a way to where you don't have such a big area to explore, it's cool. But at the same time, for me, on this playthrough, I knew exactly where I had to go, so I just beelined it for where I had to go, so I didn't have any of that, like, oh, where the heck am I supposed to go dilly-dallying thing, But the first time I played it, I was frustrated in that part, because I was like, where am I going? Like, what am I supposed to do?
It's to the game's detriment, for sure, in a lot of ways. And this is one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're going to give us an open area, give us stuff to do. Like, one thing I thought about this game is like, how cool would it have been to have like there be locals there, that you could do stuff for. Maybe you had an ally there that could like translate stuff to you, or like give you like a list of side quests. Could you have imagined how much depth that would have added to the game? Where it's like, yeah, we can go do this thing, but there's there's all these bad guys that have invaded this area and that are messing up with the local culture, you know, of the island, and we can help them. Like, that would have been cool, in my opinion. And it doesn't have to be like a lengthy thing. It doesn't have to be like this long thing. You could have had one decent side quest that would have validated the open spaces, in my opinion. Because, again, it does fall into this thing of we're just going to put it in there just because we can. And that's not always a good thing. There is such a thing as too much, in my opinion.
I feel like instead of adding more side quest-esque story, they should have just taken it out completely. Or at least let you see that area, but beeline it. Because this isn't an open world game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an explore. That's, each time I had to do that in these games, I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
It's not, because
there's no purpose to it.
Yeah, you can tell that they didn't have a reason to do that. They were just adding in space, which is cool sometimes, but they did it several times to where it's just like, I don't need this. I just want to continue the story, you know? And then in that same section where you have to go through and fight, like, you have to fight like 3 or 4 different bases just to get to where you're going, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
One base, man. One big base or something like that, because you're just like, you can see I hate it when they do that, where you can see your goal in these games and you're just like, I can't get there because I'm fighting all these guys over and over and over and over, you know?
Yeah.
But that's probably that
but that's Uncharted, though. That's like classic Uncharted, you know,
kind
like
of,
I mean,
but they did it was so many times though, because it was like you were guessing which tower each time, and then you finally got to the one that was like underground. That was cool, but it wasn't fulfilling, because then at the end, none of the towers that you went through out in that giant open space were the right one. Yeah. You know? Which,
when you're going in that giant square, like you're going all around. Yeah.
Yeah. I get what they were going for, but it was just like, it wasn't fulfilling. It just seemed like a waste of time, because then the tower you needed was all the way over there. You know? Yeah. So I don't know.
I get it. And again, we are kind of, these are the things that we find annoying. Sometimes annoyances are big things, sometimes they're small things, but I agree. These have always been the things that have annoyed me about the Uncharted series. You know, is stuff that you're saying right now. It's like, we're going to put this in there for the sake of, the biggest one for me in this one is like, we're going to put X, Y, and Z details in there for the sake of just having them in there just because we can, you know. And that's, are you getting the text on the family? We're in a family chat, ladies and gents, and they just started a new thread, and it's getting interesting. So that's kind of preoccupied. I gotta turn my I gotta turn my phone over as it's distracting me. God, oh boy. Anyways, I don't have anything too much more to say on this game. I do think, you know, I want to ask a question. Do you have anything else more negative to say before, you know, critiques to give this game before we kind of give our final review and our scores?
Not really negative. I have more positive that I want to say, but I mean, I feel like that's just piling on to how good I think this game is. But I don't know. One thing that I did like, I know it's not negative, but one thing I really did like, one of my favorite puzzles in this series that I've ever seen was the pirate painting poster.
Yeah.
Like the pirate
super cool
puzzle. That's the coolest puzzle they've ever done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then how they incorporated, I know it's product placement, how they use their like Sony smartphone and you're like communicating. It felt like real life, where you, like, if I'm an electrician, so like if I ever have a question on something, I'm like, who knows more about this? Oh, I'll call Carter or something. I'll be like, dude, what am I doing here? And he'll be, you know, like, it felt, that was really cool, that whole little section of the game. Yeah. That was an awesome section. But, man, nitpicky.
Or just negatives in general. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is,
I don't have a lot.
Whenever you're trying, well, and that's the thing too, is I feel like they did so many right things in this game to where you want to have, you don't want to sing a game's praises too much. You want to have a balanced review, you know. And there are so many more things that I think Elena and Nate's relationship in this game is by and far one of the best. It is the best relationship they've had in Uncharted so far. Like, I finally get it. It finally clicked for me in this game. Whereas before I'm like, you guys don't make any sense, you know. And you can tell it that they had a struggle to kind of get to that point. And that kind of comes back up in this game a little bit too. But I liked that. I liked that a lot in this game. But yeah, I mean, there's so many more things I could add to the list that I really, really liked about, Uncharted 4. But I think it's time to give our final review, though. And I have a question that I wanted to ask, after we give our scores, and then we'll go from there. So, okay. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Mikey, what does it get from you?
Do we know what our scores were last time?
I think I've given an 8 on every single one of these games.
An 8. I feel like I rated 3 higher than I did 2.
I think you gave 3. I can't remember. We need to start keeping track. Next series, we'll keep track.
Yeah, you'd think like us being professionals and stuff.
Right, yeah, because we're professionals over here at Wannabe Critic Productions,
Right. Man. This game was the reason I bought my first PlayStation 4. And I played it, and it didn't let me down when I played this game. So I have that prerequisite, like that always sticks in my mind when I play this game. So for me, this is at least... Oh, man. Am I going to give this a 9? I might give this a 9. I really like this game. Even with the things that I did say where there is parts of the game where it's like, man, this is,
frustrating.
But it's only like, it's only like 10, 15 minutes parts, like where it's, where it's frustrating. Oh, man, a 9. That's high. That's real high.
I think that's fair, though. I mean,
it feels right. A 9 feels right. This game for me.
That's what
I really like this game.
That's what my score is. Even all the nitpicks that I have, it's a 9. And that's the thing is, I like Uncharted. I don't love Uncharted. Like I've been very balanced with my reviews. I feel like this whole time, and I think that's kind of just what goes to show about the series is, I have to agree. I think this game is a 9. I think it is a 9 out of 10, and I think this is peak PS. It is peak PS4 performance, right up there with Spider-Man, in my opinion.
It might be a 10 for me. It might be a 10.
Wow,
this is
a 10.
This is one of my favorite games of all time.
Is it officially a 10 for
sure?
You?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 10. Why not?
Okay,
I like it.
All right,
I really like it. I know it's not perfect.
I hope you have enjoyed.
I know it's not.
I hope
perfect.
you've enjoyed being a wannabe. You're no.
I know it's not perfect.
Who are you, Cammy, who gives My Hero Academia seasons 10 out of 10?
Elijah on this one.
Shots fired. Oh my God, shots fired. Oh my God, dude. I hope Ethan's listening to this. He'll probably think that's hilarious. Oh my God.
No, I hope he's not. I don't want him to get spoiled on the game.
Yeah, no.
But it's a 10. I know it's not perfect, and that's not to say this game is a perfect game, but for me, if I could experience a game again, like if I could only experience one again that I've experienced so far, it'd probably be Uncharted 4. I really liked this game the first time I played it.
Wow, those are fighting words. Like those are fighting words. So you're saying
that's coming from a person that hasn't played a whole lot of games. I'm a 1 to 2 game per year type of guy. Yeah. So I don't play every game that comes out.
Sure.
But for me, the first time I played this, it hit home for me. Like it's a good game.
I mean, it's amongst the great. I mean, I said, this is probably peak PS4. That's not true. Like God of War came out, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2.
It's definitely top 10 PS4 games.
It's probably top 5, honestly.
That's what I was saying, top 10 to be generous, but yeah, probably top 5.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot. That puts it up there with a lot of heavy hitters, man.
It's probably it's a great game. It is great, and I think 10 from you and 9 from me for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to ask one more question though. Nathan Drake's saga, which of course our next Nathan Drake review is going to be the Golden Abyss, which I'll be playing. You'll be watching videos on it, kind of doing your research on the game, and kind of offering a second party type review whenever it comes to Golden Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the core entries to Nathan Drake's story, the first 4 Uncharted games, Do you consider the Uncharted games to be a must play? Like you must play these games if you have a PlayStation.
I mean, if you want to have like one of the best experiences in like a saga, as George Lucas would say, in video gaming, and that's not to say like the Gears saga or like Mass Effect or anything like that. I've never played those, but for me, yeah, it's a must play, 100%. If you like third-person shooters, even if you don't, I hated third-person shooters and started these games. It was like, holy crap, this is amazing, you know? So, yeah, for sure.
I think for me, and again, I have come out and said, like, I don't love Uncharted. I like it. I do. I still think it's one of those ones, like, you should probably play the series, and see what everyone, why everyone regards it in such a high esteem. Because even if you don't love it, you can still appreciate it, I think. And I think it would probably be one of those games where if you can just literally just blast through them like in a month, which I think you could do that pretty easily.
Put it on easy and just enjoy the story.
Just coast through, which in some parts even on easy, especially in Uncharted 3, it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
But Uncharted
just
4,
get through the slog of 2 and you'll be fine.
Oh God, shots fired. But Uncharted 4 lets you lock on. Uncharted 4 lets you lock on to enemies. All you got to do is point your pointer in the direct vicinity, and you're good to go. But no, I think this series is a must play, and I do think these are good games. If I had to give the entire series a score, I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Same.
I think across the board, it's a solid experience. Nathan Drake has a big personality, is a big character in gaming, and you should play through these games. So, Mikey, we did it. We got through 4 Uncharted games, and I'm excited to get through 2 more and continue our reviews for show. But man, it's been fun to do this, and I look forward to more games in the future, especially with your shiny new PS5 that you have. So we'll be going through the PlayStation Plus collection, ladies and gentlemen, to kind of see some stuff. Keep in mind, we stray from reviewing too many mature titles on anything Wannabe critic related. If you have a request that you'd like us to play through, definitely make sure you email us and give us suggestions. We would seriously appreciate it. You never know who's going to be with me on this show, but it's fun. We're almost to 1,000 downloads, which is really cool. That's only because of you guys who keep on listening. So thank you so much for continuing to listen. We've been a show. June 19th was our 1-year anniversary of Game Club, which is really, really cool. So
wow,
yeah,
already?
Yeah, I know. Thank you for the continued support. It really means the world. And yeah, I mean, as we continue to consolidate our projects and kind of figure out where we're going, and like continue to really build the identification of what those various projects are, we need your help to continue to do it. And seeing people listen to this one more than anything, or just as much as the other stuff, the main shows and stuff, it speaks to us. It lets us know where we should keep our focus, and it's encouraging. So thank you so much for sure. But Mikey, that comes to the end of our podcast. Do you want people to be able to find you or no?
I mean, if you want to find me, you can find me somewhere. I don't know.
What's your handle again? Low-key?
I hate social media.
Yeah.
It's low-key MC7 at Twitter. I'm not on there ever, but I mean, if you want to at me, come at me, bro.
Yeah. There you have it.
I man, it's such a struggle with that stuff.
Yeah.
Not to end on a sad note.
No. If you want to get in touch, I've been taking breaks myself, and it's been a very good experience, because it's really kind of centered focus on things that are most important, as well as helping me realize like what I actually want to do with content. Yeah. So yeah, it's always good. It's always good to make sure you're making stuff for you. You're truly making stuff for you first, before you make it for other people. So never forget that. Stay golden, Pony Boy.
I think I just need to make like an email in case anybody wants to get a hold of me, because I just hate Twitter.
Yeah, or you can just email us at thewannabecollective@gmail.com is how you can get in touch with Mikey
Do that.
Easily.
Yeah, send me a heartfelt email. Gabe will forward it to me, and then I will reply back via carrier pigeon.
All right. Well, on that note, Mikey, thank you for giving your time. Thank you to the listeners for continuing to listen to this show. We really, really appreciate it. And until next time, we will see you later. Say goodbye, Mikey.
Goodbye. Coke is better. Brought it back.
Well, whatever possessed you to check out any of the content that you saw today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If you check the description down below, you'll see that there's a variety of different projects that I'm associated with. This is Wannabe Critic Productions after all. So I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed what you saw today, consider giving some of those other projects a chance as well. There's a lot of stuff that I'm a part of that that I do. If you were here for me or for someone else that you saw today, again, just thank you for checking it out, and I hope to see you again. But until next time, I'm Gabriel Fast, and I'll always be the Wannabe Critic.